Good morning, students. In today's session, we are going to take up the first chapter of your literature book, that is An Uncomfortable Bed. It is written by Guy de Maupassant. Okay, before we begin with the line by line explanation, let me give you a short summary of the chapter, what the chapter is about. Now, what happens? The speaker in this chapter is a person, who's a kind of pessimist. Pessimist means who thinks about the negativity, who thinks about the negative side of the things. So, this person, he does not have confidence on himself. And he feels that other people, his friends, they are always looking for an opportunity to play some kind of practical jokes or pranks on him. So he's always thinking like this, and although this is just his imagination. So, just because of this negative thinking, this pessimist thinking, this his imagination, one day he lands himself in trouble. He puts himself in trouble. Now, what is that trouble? How, whether he's the cause of his trouble or the other people, we are going to read and find out in this chapter. So, before we begin, let me tell you, children, you must always have the book when you are watching this video. Keep your book ready with you, chapter 1, and keep a pencil with you. Like when I go through the lines, I'll be telling you the meanings of various words. So I'll tell you to underline those words and write down your meanings. So let us start, and please keep your book ready with you, chapter 1, An Uncomfortable Bed. I'm starting with the paragraph 1. One autumn, I went to spend a few days with some friends in Picardy. So the speaker says that one autumn is a season which comes before winter. So he says, I went to spend a few days with his friends. His friends invited him there to spend a few days with them. And what is the name of the place? It is Picardy. It is a region in northern France. So my friends were fond of practical jokes. I do not care to know people who are not. So he says that I know that my friends, they are fond of practical jokes, pranks, they love playing practical jokes. He says, I know this about my friends. And then in the second line, he says, I do not care to know about the people who are not. So he feels maybe everybody loves to play practical jokes. And he says, I don't want to bother myself. I don't bother myself to know about the people who are not fond of playing practical jokes. So he feels, this is his feeling, that maybe everyone in this world loves playing practical jokes. When I arrived, they gave me a grand reception, which at once made me rather suspicious. So he says that when I arrived at Picardy at my friend's place, they all welcomed him with a grand reception. They gave him a grand welcome, they welcomed him heartily. Everybody of course does this now. Whenever you invite somebody and somebody comes over, naturally, obviously, we welcome them with grandly, because we've invited them. So when he got this grand reception from his friends, this made him suspicious. He became doubtful that why his friends are welcoming him so grandly, why are they giving him so much of importance and all that. So all that, now see here itself, his negative thinking, his negative imagination is coming up. So they cheered him, they cheered loudly, embraced me, and made much of me, as if they expected to have great fun at my expense. So he tells that his friends, they cheered when I came there, and they embraced me. Embraced means they hugged me and made much of me. Now, made much of me means like me, they gave him too much of attention, which he felt should not be given. And why he felt that why they were giving him so much of importance, maybe because they were expecting to have great fun at his expense, at his cost. So he felt all this grand reception which was being given to him, it was just because his friends, they wanted to have great fun at his expense, because maybe they had planned to play some practical joke on him, and after that, when he gets caught in that joke, they want to have fun. So this is just his imagination. I said to myself, look out, old ferret, they have something in store for you. So the moment he got all that grand reception, he tells himself to be watchful. Look out. Look out is a phrase which is used for being watchful. So underline this look out and write down be careful. So he tells himself to be careful, and he calls himself old ferret. Now, old ferret is a cat-like animal, which hunts rabbits by entering their burrows and driving them out. So here the writer calls himself an old ferret, and he feels he's that cat who is going to enter into this burrow of this friends, and he's going to hunt them and take them out and find out what they are up to. So he calls himself old ferret. They have something in store for you. So he feels that his friends, they have got something in store for him. So they've planned something for him. So we come on to paragraph 5 now. During the dinner, the mirth was excessive. So while they were having their dinner, the mirth means amusement. It was excessive. Excessive means too much. So everybody was too amused. He felt it is not required. They seemed to be extra amused, which seemed to be artificial. I thought, here are people who are really amused, too amused. So he felt that they were artificially amused. There was no reason to be so happy about. There does not seem to be any reason for so much mirth, because he felt that there was no reason why they were so happy, or there was so much of amusement. So he was finding all this amusement as artificial. They must have planned some good joke. And why he gave this reason, that why they are so happy? Because they must have planned a good joke, and when he would be caught in that joke, then naturally they are they are happy in anticipation. They are happy beforehand, only thinking about all that. Surely I am to be the victim of the joke. So he was sure that he is going to be the victim. He is going to be the person who will be caught in the joke, and he warns himself. He says, attention. The entire evening, everyone laughed in an exaggerated fashion. So the whole evening passed and everyone was laughing in an exaggerated manner. Exaggerated means too much. No? Just as a dog can smell whatever it is hunting, I could smell a practical joke in the air. So he says that just like a dog, when it goes for hunting, it gets smell what it is going to hunt for. Same way he says, I could smell some joke in the air. But what was it? But he was not able to find out till now. He was not able to locate. He was not able to find out what that joke was. I was watchful, restless. So he was watchful also. He was keeping he was extra alert, and he was getting restless also. So why was he getting restless? Because he was waiting for something to happen, but till now nothing had happened. So he could not wait anymore for that prank. I did not miss a single word or a meaning or a gesture. So he was being extra careful. So he did not miss a single word they were saying, speaking, or what it meant, its meaning, or the gesture. Gesture means the actions which they were doing. So he was watching every single thing, so that he should not miss anything, and he did not want to get caught in the prank. Everyone seemed to be a suspect. And he was doubting everyone. Suspect is a person whom you doubt. So you can underline that and write down, a suspect is a person to whom we doubt. And even I looked distrustfully at the faces of the other guests. So he was even distrustfully looking at the faces of the other guests who had arrived, like him. So he was not leaving anyone. He was doubting everyone. The hour struck for going to bed. So at last the time came. Hour struck means the time came for going to bed. It was night time now. Everybody was going off to sleep. The whole household came to accompany me to my room. Why? You know, his friends, they all came, they all accompanied him to his room, to leave him to his room. And he even doubted this. He said, why everybody is accompanying me to my room? They could have, just one or two could have come and left me to my room, or why? So even this made him doubtful. They called me good night and they bade him good night. I entered my room, shut the door, and remained standing without moving a single step, holding the candle in my hand. So naturally now he was alone in his room, and all the time, he had been extra careful. So he had not been the victim till now. So when he was in his room, it was obvious he would take great care. So once the door was shut, he was inside his room, he did not move a single step, and he was holding a candle in his hand. So holding a candle in his hand, this shows that the story, it is set up in a time when there was no electricity, long time back, olden days when candles were used as light and all that. So he kept the candle in his hand and he did not move a single step. So why he did not move a single step? Because he wanted to take care of everything before taking any step. I heard people laughing and whispering in the corridor. Naturally, his friends who had come to leave him, when they were going back, they were laughing, they were talking, and he felt that maybe they were laughing for the prank which they had kept in for him. Without doubt, they were spying on me. And he was sure, he had no doubt that they were spying on him. They were, keeping a watch on him, keeping an eye on him. So I cast a glance round the walls, the furniture, the ceiling, the hangings, and the full floor. So what did he do? The first thing which he did when he entered his room was he cast a glance. He took a quick look at everything what was visible to him. The doors, the furniture, the ceiling, the hangings, and even the floor. So just to check, to make sure everything was fine, and where could that prank be, I saw nothing to justify suspicion. But everything seemed very right, everything seemed to be in place, and nothing seemed to be justifying his suspicious. Nothing seemed to be giving him a good reason to justify his suspicion that he should be doubtful enough about. So everything seemed to be right. I heard persons moving about outside my door. So again he heard people moving about outside his door. Now they were moving about just because maybe they were moving to their rooms and all that. But he felt that they were waiting for that prank to happen to him. I had no doubt they were looking through the keyhole. So look at his imagination, look at his negative thinking. So he felt maybe they were looking through that keyhole. You all know what is a keyhole, where we put the key. So he felt that they were looking inside the room through that keyhole. Children, sometimes this type of things happen to us also. No, we also think of us negative things. Some of us have got this habit, especially when we are in a kind of situation like sometimes parents are away and we are alone at home today, and it's night time and we are alone and the parents are going to come late into the night. So that time everything seems suspicious. Or maybe when the weather outside is kind of dreadening. So things do make us like that sometimes, but this man was always. So we move on to the next page now. The next paragraph, page 2. An idea came into my head. So something came to his mind. My candle may suddenly go out and leave me in darkness. So he felt that any time, his candle could go out. It could burn out. So and there'll be total darkness in the room. So beforehand, he should do something. Again, he'll be in trouble then. So I went around the room and lighted all the candles that I could find. So what he did? He went around the room and he lighted all the candles which were in the room. After that, I cast another glance around me without discovering anything. So then second time, he examined the room without discovering anything. Again, he did not discover anything, no result. So I moved with short steps. So then he started walking around, and he was so careful. He was taking very, very short steps to be careful, in case maybe his steps sink into the floor or he stumbles over something. So he was imagining every sort of thing, carefully examining the room. So he was examining his room carefully. He was going around taking very short steps. Nothing, but he found nothing. I inspected every article, one after the other. So he checked, he examined every article which was there in the room, one after the other, and still nothing. He did not find anything wrong. I went over to the window. So his next place was window. He checked the windows. The shutters, large wooden shutters, were open. The window shutters, they were made of wood, they were open. So I shut them with great care. So while taking great care, he shut those windows. He closed them in case, something comes from outside. So he wanted to take care. And then drew the curtains. So he shut the windows and then he drew the curtains on. And these curtains, they were enormous velvet curtains, made of velvet, and they were enormous. They were very huge. And placed a chair in front of them. And after closing the windows, after drawing the curtains, then again the third thing which he did was he placed a chair in front of them so that nothing could come from outside, so as to have nothing to fear from outside. So his fear from outside, now it was calmed down. So he was sure nothing could happen from outside. Now he had to take care of the things from inside. Then I sat down cautiously. And then, very, very carefully, taking great care, he sat down. The armchair was solid. So before sitting, he made sure that the armchair on which he was going to sit, it was solid. Maybe the leg was not broken or something had not been done to it. So he checked everything and then he sat down. I did not dare to go into the bed. And he did not have the courage, he did not have the heart to go into the bed. He wanted to take, because rest of the things he had already checked. He had found nothing. So the only thing which was left, which he could suspect now, was the bed. That was the last thing left. So he did not have the courage to go into the bed, because he was now sure that rest of the things being checked, now the prank must have been there in the bed only. So something must be there in the bed. However, the night was advancing, and I finally came to the conclusion that I was being foolish. But the night was advancing, it was going deep into the night, and he was feeling tired and sleepy. And so once an idea came to his mind, this point came to his mind, that maybe he was wrong. He came to this conclusion that he was being foolish. There was nothing in the room, and he was just imagining it. I was certain that my friends were spying on. And the next moment, again, the negative point came to his mind. He was sure that his friends, they were spying on him, waiting for the success of whatever joke they had prepared. And he was sure that his friends, they were waiting for the success of the joke which they had prepared for him. But in that case, they must have been laughing their heads off at my terror. So then he felt, if such is the case, if his friends are waiting, for the joke to happen to him, then they must be laughing their heads off. They must be laughing, loudly and too much, just thinking of his terror, the terror which he was going through. So he felt that he could not let his friends have so much fun at his expense. So he says, I could not let them have so much fun at my expense, at my cost. So I made up my mind to go to bed. So at last he decided that he will go to bed, because he did not want his friends to have so much of fun at his cost, of thinking that all that fear and terror what I must be going through. So again, this is just his imagination. Okay, children, we'll continue the next time. So what I'll suggest, you just go through this part of the chapter again, read through it at least 2 times, and what happens in the next part, we'll move on and we'll find out. Thank you and have a nice day.